Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show House Highlight, where we bring you details of the day's development in both houses. Let's begin with the headlines first. Lok Sabha approves finance bill. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman asserts government did not take recourse to taxation to revive economy affected by COVID-19 pandemic. Government introduces Delhi Municipal Corporation Amendment Bill in Lok Sabha to integrate the three municipal corporations. Congress, PSP and RSP calls it unconstitutional. Birbhum violence case raised in Rajya Sabha. Heated exchanges between BJP and TMC members forces brief adjournment. And Rajya Sabha takes up private members' business. BJP MP Rakesh Sinha moves a resolution to form a civilization culture cell at national and state level. And now all these news in detail. The Lok Sabha on Friday approved the finance bill, which gives effect to new taxation, thus completing the budgetary exercise for 2022-23 fiscal. The finance bill was approved by the lower house after accepting 39 official amendments moved by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and rejecting the amendments proposed by the opposition by voice vote. Replying to a discussion on the finance bill, Finance Minister said India was probably the only country that did not resort to new taxes to fund the recovery of economy hit by COVID-19 pandemic.
I want to draw on the reports which have come out of the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which very clearly said at least 32 countries increased various tax rates during the pandemic. India did not. 32 countries during the pandemic increased personal income, meaning tax on personal income, or tax on corporate income, or environment-related taxes were raised, or health-related taxes were raised, or excise duties were raised. We have not done that last year, nor have we done it this year. And which are these countries which had to depend on tax increases to meet the expenses of the pandemic? They are no less developed countries, absolutely developed countries, large countries like Germany, France, Canada, UK, and Russia, apart from very many smaller economies, all of which depended on increasing taxation to meet the demands of the COVID pandemic and also the recovery requirements. So I would like to place that on the table because the clear instruction, first guidance, in fact, I received while preparing the 21 budget and preparing 22 budget was no, we shall not take the taxation route.
On the issue of increase in fuel prices, the Finance Minister answered that Ukraine war has impacted the prices, which is a global phenomena. The passing of the finance bill in Lok Sabha has now paved the way for the government to implement the provisions of the union budget from next month.
Korea, America, in 1951, when India was not globally connected, that can be used for justifying a price rise. But if genuinely today Ukraine is hitting us, sir, and if we say war is causing the price rise, it's not acceptable. How can this dogla, sir? And final statement, sir, dohra. Finally, sir, we as a government and Prime Minister Modi as a Prime Minister and as a Chief Minister strongly believed in lowering taxes, bringing the burden on common man to be lesser, and we are continuously successfully doing it steadily. Just to compare what prevailed earlier, sir, and today. Sir, in February 28, 1970, Union Budget, in a speech, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who also held the Finance Minister's office at that time, increased the marginal tax rate by 11 percentage points to 93.5% on all incomes above 2 lakh. 93.5.
Well, earlier members cutting across party lines took part in the discussion. Initiating the discussion on finance bill in the Lok Sabha, Congress member Gaurav Gogoi said the government had kept the prices of petrol, diesel and cooking gas stable for a month and increased them thrice later. BJP member Nishikant Dubey said that rising oil prices were due to the Ukraine conflict. Let's listen in.
Fuel prices are being increased for the third time in 1 week. And this is a country which has just emerged out of a lockdown, a third lockdown. They need the chance to breathe. They need the chance to conduct their businesses in a free and fair atmosphere, not always under the burden of high inflation and high fuel prices.
यूक्रेन क्राइसिस के बाद आज लगभग वर्ल्ड मार्केट में 130 से 139 डॉलर पर बैरल जो है क्रूड के ऑयल हो गए, दाम हो गए सर। क्या करें? हम भी आप ही की तरह नाटक करें? हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी देश को यह बताना चाहते हैं कि यह सिचुएशन है और इस सिचुएशन में महंगाई बढ़ेगी, पेट्रोल के प्राइस बढ़ेंगे, एलपीजी के प्राइस बढ़ेंगे। वोट की राजनीति अलग है, देश की राजनीति अलग है। आज जो बातें कह रहे थे, 15 साल तक गौरव गोगोई साहब के पिताजी वहां मुख्यमंत्री रहे असम में, क्यों ऐसा हालत है? आप फ्री का जो है यदि किसी को बांटना शुरू करोगे, फ्री की बिजली दे देते हैं, फ्री का आपको मकान दे देते हैं, फ्री आपको इन्वेस्टमेंट दे देते हैं, पैसा प्रत्येक महीने दे देते हैं, क्या ये फ्री बी की सरकार आप चलाने की बात कर रहे हैं? और इसमें से इसके बाद आपको लगेगा कि केंद्र उसकी मदद करे?
The economic survey projects the GDP growth for 22-23 at between 8 to 8.5%. Recently, the RBI has projected 7.8% growth. But the reverberations of war, geopolitical scenario around the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and looking at the US and NATO's deployment of jets and nearly 30,000 troops in Norway and carrying out war exercises, I feel it further will tilt the balance of risks downwards, sir. It is a tough scenario for a country like India. So I would just like to know whether any fresh assessment has been made about the growth in the light of the latest developments by the Finance Ministry.
There is a discrepancy for mango pulp and mango puree, sir, where GST is being charged at 18% instead of 12%. So it is different, sir. There are farmers in Gujarat, there are farmers in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh who are dependent on mango. There are people there in Maharashtra, throughout the country, sir. Each state is interpreting in a different way, and now people are being asked to pay retrospective at 18%. So it's going to hit the poor farmers and it's going to kill the industry, sir. This is not a good move. So I request the government to inform the concerned authorities. We will submit a representation of the same also, sir. The farmers should be protected.
कल भी पीयूष गोयल जी बोल रहे थे कि यस वॉल्यूम में भी बढ़ा है एक्सपोर्ट, लेकिन थोड़ी महंगाई के कारण बिकॉज ऑफ क्रूड प्राइसेस। तो यहाँ बोलो तो बैठो तो क्रूड प्राइसेस महंगाई और यहाँ बैठे तो महंगाई, ऐसा नहीं होता। आई थिंक दिस एंटायर हाउस हैज़ टू ऑलवेज डू, एंड सब्सिडीज किसी देश के लिए कोई खुद को कम मानने वाली कोई बात नहीं है। गरीब के लिए नहीं करोगे तो किसके लिए करोगे? वंचित के लिए नहीं करोगे तो किसके लिए करोगे? सो आई रिक्वेस्ट दिस गवर्नमेंट टू टेक दिस इन्फ्लेशन इश्यूज very, very seriously, because this country has voted you in that time only with trust and faith against all this.
25% of what it is today, if you simplify your tax procedures, you make out two clear slabs of 15%, 20%, no exemptions, 15% for below a particular threshold, 20% above a particular threshold. You don't need 10,000 exemptions, and therefore, 5.5 lakh people to adjudicate on a daily basis. And we know what happens. All this faceless assessment and all, Mr. Chairman, I've been a taxpayer for the last 37 years. So therefore, people who actually pay those taxes know what the actual position is.
बिहार को भी विशेष राज्य का दर्जा मिले, इसके लिए लगातार बिहार के सांसद और जनप्रतिनिधि, हर पार्टी के लोग बिहार विधानसभा से प्रस्ताव पास करके केंद्र सरकार को भेजा है। इसके लिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि बिहार को विशेष राज्य का दर्जा मिलना चाहिए। खास करके लॉन्ग टर्म अगर विकास नहीं होता है बिहार में तो उसके लिए काफ़ी परेशानी है। मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि विकास दर को आगे बढ़ाते हुए खास करके जो केंद्रीय करों में छूट मिलता है उसका लाभ बिहार को भी मिले और औद्योगिकीकरण भी हो, रोजगार का भी अवसर पैदा होगा। इससे राज्य को अधिक राजस्व की प्राप्ति भी होगी।
India is the highest consumer of gold in the world. India's gold jewelry exports stood at US $30.9 billion and imports stood at US $26 billion in the financial year 2018-19. India's gem and jewelry sector is one of the largest in the world, contributing 29% to the global jewelry consumption. Sir, since the price of the gold stood very high, large-scale smuggling of gold is taking place throughout the country. The basic reasons for the illegal activity is due to higher rate of customs duty now prevailing.
The Delhi Municipal Corporation Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to merge the three municipal corporations in the national capital, was on Friday introduced in the Lok Sabha amid objections by opposition parties. As per the bill, the Unified Municipal Corporation of Delhi will be a single, integrated and well-equipped entity and will not have more than 250 wards. At present, Delhi has 272 wards under the North, South and East municipal corporations. The bill was introduced by Ministry of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai, RSP member N.K. Premchandran, Congress member Gaurav Gogoi and Manish Tiwari and BSP member Ritesh Pandey opposed the introduction of the bill.
नगर निगम के द्वारा व्यवस्थाएं सुदृढ़ होगी, इनके कर्मचारियों का कल्याण होगा, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ। 10 वर्षों का जो अनुभव आया है, उसके आधार पर यह नगर निगम दिल्ली के लिए संशोधन विधेयक लाया गया है। तो उसमें इसका मूल जो उद्देश्य है और जिस उद्देश्य से कोई यह पूरा नहीं कर सका, दिल्ली वासियों को इससे बहुत नुकसान हुआ है। नगर निगम दिल्ली की नीति में एकरूपता, ठोस वित्तीय प्रबंधन, दिल्ली के विकास को गति तथा दिल्ली के विकास को गति के साथ साथ कर्मचारियों के वेतन भुगतान एवं सेवा स्थिति जैसी समस्याओं का समाधान होगा तथा नगर निगम के प्रशासन में भी एकरूपता आएगी। इसलिए हम माननीय सदस्य को यह कहना चाहेंगे कि दिल्ली वासियों के यह हित में है, इसलिए इस विधेयक का समर्थन करें और सर्वसम्मति से पास करें। और वह भी है, मैं पहले ही बताया कि अनुच्छेद 239 के अंतर्गत यह लाया गया है जो सदन को अधिकार है।
This is disrupting the legislative assembly. The will of the people is the legislative assembly. They have passed an act and it is in force trifurcation of the municipal corporations. Now union government is coming with a legislation so as to unify it. Then what is the will of the people of the Delhi Legislative Assembly?
2050 का ये सीमा ये लेजिस्लेशन में बांध नहीं सकते क्योंकि सीट और वार्ड्स आबादी के अनुसार होना चाहिए, कोई नियम नहीं डाल सकते। तीसरी बात यह है कि इन्होंने एक स्पेशल ऑफिसर डाला है, ये पूरी तरीके से एक स्पेशल ऑफिसर संघीय ढांचा के खिलाफ है। 2012 में ये एनडीएमसी ये म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन ट्राइफर्केट हुआ था और इसलिए हुआ था ताकि ये डेमोक्रेटाइज हो, डिसेंट्रलाइज हो।
If any house has the legislative competence in order to unify these three municipalities, it is the Delhi Assembly and it is not this house. And this house cannot, after Part 9 was inserted into the Constitution of India, substitute itself for the Assembly of Delhi and pass this particular legislation.
चुनाव होने तक जब तक वो अपने विधित कार्य में बनी रहती है, उस समय कोई भी संशोधन बिल में नहीं लाया जा सकता और उस संशोधन का म्युनिसिपैलिटी के ऊपर कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
And time now for what transpired in the upper house. In Rajya Sabha, during question hour, allaying its concern over the impact of the war in Ukraine on the import of sunflower oil in India, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said that sunflower oil constitutes only a smaller proportion in India's overall edible oil market.
So, sir, what is the government of India doing to diversify its import of sunflower oil, and what steps have been taken to reduce our import dependency on oil, because this has a serious impact on the inflation in the country and is affecting the common man.
Sunflower oil largely came from Ukraine, but sunflower oil has a smaller proportion in our overall basket of edible oils. But whenever there is a situation like this, it obviously has an impact all over the world, and almost all edible oil prices in the entire world today have shot up because of the India-Russia war, the Russia-Ukraine war, my apologies. And therefore, this is an impact that we are also facing. it's a good opportunity for us as a nation, and I would appeal to all the states also to encourage their farmers to go and to move to diversify their crop from the traditional crop and look at oil seeds, pulses in a bigger way so that we can remove the dependence on that.
Replying to another query in the Upper House, Minister of State for Communication Dev Singh Chauhan said that spectrum auctions will be conducted very soon and the next generation 5G services are expected to commence before the end of this year.
मैंने पूछा था कि 4G या 5G क्या BSNL को प्रोवाइड करेंगे कि जिससे उसकी सर्विस बेहतर हो सके।
हाँ, बहुत ही जल्दी लगभग इसी साल के अंत तक 4G सर्विस BSNL में शुरू हो जाएगी और BSNL की सर्विस के कारण जो आपने BSNL की सर्विस की क्वालिटी की सर्विस की चिंता की है वो भी इम्प्रूव हो जाएगी।
BJP MP Rupa Ganguly broke down in Rajya Sabha during zero-hour or Birbhum violence. She demanded President's rule in West Bengal and alleged that with mass killings happening in the state, people are forced to flee their homes.
सर, पहला एक काउंसिलर को मारा, एक उप प्रधान को मारा, उसका नाम है बादू शेख। बादू शेख को मारने के बाद मास किलिंग हुआ और बादू शेख को किसने मारा किसी को पता नहीं। वहाँ एक एक करके लोग भाग रहे हैं सर, वहाँ जगह से लोग भाग रहे हैं, बच्चे मुंह नहीं खोल देते सर, वहाँ पे लोग जीने लायक नहीं रह गए हैं।
Matters of public importance were raised during zero hour in Rajya Sabha on Friday. BJP MP Sushil Kumar Modi raised the demand for doing away with MP quota for admission in Kendriya Vidyalayas. He said that MPs get overwhelmed with the requests and the privilege also leaves room for corruption. Concerns were raised on the plight of fishermen lodged in Pakistani jails during zero hour in the Upper House on Friday as well. Congress MP Shakti Singh Gohil said that 580 fishermen from Gujarat are lodged in Pakistan's jails and many are serving their sentences in Pakistan despite completing their maximum sentence of 3 months.
शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट, शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब और ओबीसी का जो 50% का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैंडेटेड रिजर्वेशन है उसका पालन नहीं किया जाता, इसमें किसी प्रकार का कोई रिजर्वेशन नहीं है। तो वी आर डिप्राइविंग मोर देन 16,000 SC, ST and OBC students because there is a flagrant violation of the constitutional quota. सौती महोदय 10 का कोटा है, एक MP के बाद 200 से 300 लोग आते हैं। हम लोग का जीना मुश्किल हो गया, जीना हराम हो गया है सुबह से लेकर शाम तक, और इसलिए मैं बढ़ाने की मांग नहीं करता हूं कि अगर बढ़ा देंगे तो और ज्यादा लोग आने लग जाएंगे।
हमारे मछुआरों के लिए भी हमने पास्ट में ये इंतजाम किया था कि उसको ट्रैकिंग सिस्टम दिया था, उसमें बड़ा करप्शन हुआ तो ट्रैकिंग सिस्टम चलता नहीं है, वरना गूगल मैपिंग के साथ वो अपनी सरहद से बाहर जाना नहीं चाहते, गलती से चले जाते हैं क्योंकि वहां कोई बॉर्डर तो मार्किंग तो होता नहीं है। तो पाकिस्तान के साथ डिप्लोमेसी करके लाना चाहो तो लाइए, लाल आंख करना करिए चाहिए तो करिए, बड़ा सीना है तो वो दिखाइए, पर कम से कम वहां ह्यूमन राइट के वायोलेशन ना हो। जिंदा वापस नहीं ला सकते, वो कम से कम डेड बॉडी को जल्द से जल्दी, और ये नानूराम कामलिया का डेड बॉडी जल्द से जल्द वापस लाया जाए।
I would like through you bring to the notice of this house the state that I come from, Uttar Pradesh, has arsenic contamination 50 times more than any other state, and this directly affects 2.34 crore people of my state. According to the report presented by Health and Family Welfare Minister, it is mentioned that prolonged arsenic poisoning can lead to many problems like skin lesions, skin cancer, bladder, lungs, and cardiovascular diseases, as well as reduced intellectual functioning in children. Yet no concrete steps have been taken to deal with arsenic contamination. My suggestion is to frame a national policy to deal with arsenic contamination and to start awareness programs, sir. We are advertising for a lot of our achievements, but this needs to be advertised more.
The Rajya Sabha has taken up the private member resolution related to form a civilization culture cell at the national and state level with adequate financial assistance to the groups associated with such traditions and microcultures for discussion. The resolution was moved by BJP MP Rakesh Sinha And speaking on it, Sinha said that India is an ancient civilization which has developed through thousands of years of civilizational journey.
तो हिंदू पॉलिटी में आज मैं उल्लेख इसलिए कहता हूं कि आजादी के बाद पहली बार, मैं ये नहीं मानता कि बाकी लोग नहीं मानते थे, लेकिन पहली बार भारत के प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने सदन और सदन के बाहर डंके की चोट पर कहा कि इंडिया इज द ओल्डेस्ट होम ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी। भारत लोकतंत्र का प्राचीनतम घर है। यह समाजशास्त्र की किताब में कहीं एक पंक्ति आती थी, उसमें वैशाली और मगध, वैशाली दो त्रिलक्ष्मी के गणतंत्र का सिर्फ उल्लेख होता था। देश को आत्मबल चाहिए और इसी आत्मविश्वास, आत्मबल के साथ हम अपने ज्ञान की परंपरा को आगे बढ़ाएं, ज्ञान की उन चीजों को आगे बढ़ाएं जो देश को एक सभ्यताई राष्ट्र के रूप में दुनिया के सामने विमर्श में रखे। इसी के साथ मैं अपने इस प्रस्ताव को सदन के सामने रखता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Participating in the discussion, Jawahar Sarkar of AITC endorsed the view of Rakesh Sinha and said that we must take pride in the achievements of India. TKS Ilangovan of DMK also supported the resolution, saying that India is one of the oldest countries with rich culture.
No one is questioning the magnificence of Indian glory. We are questioning the limitations, and we need to uphold and understand, but in a rational manner, not in a self-laudatory manner, but in a self-critical manner. Not in a proprietorial manner. This knowledge I am bringing out. It's a knowledge that has existed, and all Indians are proud of it. We have retained certain bits and pieces of it, and we must get forward. I support his resolution for research commissions, but there are certain clauses like make it mandatory for universities.
We have to preserve Indian culture. We have to ensure that India is a vast country with huge population, and there were many languages. Because every culture has created a language, or every language has a separate culture. Likewise, my language has my culture. I don't want to be put into this Manudharma concept. Our society is an equanimous society. I agree with Rakesh Sinha that every culture should be protected, preserved, and I think he will agree with me. Thank you.
Baba Sahib was of the view that India's future lies in Western education and Western institution. तो बाबा साहब पर तो माला पहनाई जाए, उन पर फिल्में बनाई जाए, लेकिन उनके विचारों को आत्मसात ना किया जाए, क्योंकि आपके एथनोसेंट्रिक अप्रोच को बाबा साहब चैलेंज करते हैं, उसको धूल धूसरित करने की कोशिश करते हैं। ये इस तरह के कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन में मैं समझता हूं, न सिर्फ खुद इन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन का बाबा साहब ने जिक्र किया, बल्कि इन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शंस को एक आंदोलन, उन्होंने बिला वजह नहीं कहा था सर, एजुकेट, agitate and educate.
That's all we have in this edition of House Highlights. We'll come back again on Monday with the details of developments in both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.
संसद